Hello, hello. As you can see over here, I have a book because I want to share with you what I got out of this book. So it's just my take on the book, and the name of this book is I Thought It Was Just Me, but It Isn't. Making the Journey from What Will People Think to I Am Enough by Brene Brown. I love Brene Brown. She just seems like the girl next door. Like she's going on the journey with you, even though she has so much knowledge. And so I just wanted to share what I got out of the book. I wanted to break it down and just also share with you things that I did from reading this book. So we can read, but if we don't use the information from these wonderful books, then we're just accumulating knowledge. And so when we put it into practice is when we can bring wisdom into our lives. And so here it is. So in the introduction, and I have my notes, so I'm totally like being teacher here. The book is really about shame, how we deal with it, how we can grow from it. And so it talks about that the less that we understand about shame, the feelings about shame, the thoughts and behaviors, the more power shame has over us. And so we can't become completely resistant to shame, but we can develop resilience. And so how do we build resilience? According to Brene Brown, we have to recognize it. So we have to be aware of what is going on. We have to move through it constructively, and then we have to grow from our experiences. So being aware of how we're acting is so important. And in mindfulness, they call it like being the spectator of your life. So bringing that person out and just watching what happens without judgment, just looking at it and seeing what we can learn from it. And some instances of shame are going to be easier to navigate than others, but that's just part of life. And so we feel shame and we think self-esteem. And I think that when we actually feel, it's when it's a lot stronger. And so that's why, in my opinion, I think shame has such power over us, because it is something that we feel deep inside. And so when we're in shame, we don't see the big picture. When we're in shame, it's hard for us to come out and be the spectator of our lives. It gives us that tunnel vision where we can't see anything outside of it. We can't see any solutions. We can't see any way out. And that actually happens a lot when we're in an emotional state of just that tunnel vision of not being able to see. What is that expression? I'm horrible at expressions, but it's something about not being able to see for the trees for the forest, or the forest for the trees, whatever it is. But it's similar to that concept. And one of the most effective ways to overcome feelings of inadequacy are to share our experiences. And as hard as that seems, I have found that for me, it does kind of liberate you. A few months ago, I did something that I hadn't done in a long time. And I was being really hard on myself. And then after I shared it with a friend, it didn't seem as bad. And so having the courage and knowing who to talk to, she also talks about that in the book. Knowing who to talk to, she calls it about being in the arena. Someone that's can have compassion, because that's one of the key components in building our resilience for shame. And so shame comes from outside of us. It comes from the messages that we get from our families, from the messages we get on social media, from the messages we get on the television. And what do we do with that? Some of these things have been ingrained in us since we were kids. So in the beginning, the only thing you can do is just observe. Observe your patterns. Oh, there it is. There it is. And according to Brene, shame also unravels our connection to others. Shame keeps us. Even though it is like the way out of it, it still keeps us from sharing our experiences, from sharing our stories. And at the same time, it also prevents us from listening to others' stories. Our silence, our voice, keeps our secrets out of fear of disconnection. So what we're craving the most, the connection with other people, this fear keeps us from that. And one of the hardest things for me to learn about was that shame is the voice of perfection. I am a recovery perfectionist. It still creeps in a lot. So I shouldn't say I'm recovering from my perfectionism, and my recovery might take me the rest of my life. But all I can do is go back to that compassion, go back to that, oh yeah, that was me trying to be perfect. So this is just the introduction of the book, and I hope that it entices you to come back and listen to the other chapters in the book. Because most of us don't really realize when we're in shame. And after reading this book, that's one of the things that I noticed, is that there were things that I did, things that happened that are obviously shame. But there were other things that are not so obvious. And so learning how to deal with these things, learning how to deal with these instances of shame is important in our emotional and spiritual growth. So I hope you come back for to learn a little bit more about chapter 1. Till next time, much love.